All right, it's that time. Chapter 8 Case Study. So, this case study examines the massive data breach against the U.S. Office of Personnel Management in June 2015, and it studies the repercussions of that breach as well as the suspected causes and some of the preventative steps taken for the future. The first question is list and describe the security and control weaknesses at OPM that are discussed in this case. So basically, how it went down was hackers suspected from China, although it is not known whether or not the Chinese government was involved. No evidence was found that they were, but these hackers stole user credentials from the system that was running this database, which was Keypoint Government Solutions. And by stealing those credentials, they were able to get in and plant malware inside of the OPM's network. And planting that malware established a backdoor that they could get in through the malware to get access to all the data. And basically, the sad part is that this division was warned several times of their security vulnerabilities as an organization, and they had just an absence of mechanisms to detract intrusion, and they were just using extremely outdated technology. The next question is what management, organization, and technology factors contributed to these problems, and how much was management responsible? I think management was entirely responsible for this. They failed greatly to incorporate needed security work and revisions, and they willingly chose to ignore evidence in front of them that their security was failing and that it was expected to fail. And because of that, it cost them the privacy of the American citizens that they were supposed to be protecting. What was the impact of the OPM hack? So, as you would expect, large amounts of private data was accessed by whoever these hackers were for whatever reason. And this included extremely sensitive things such as people's full names, their addresses, their birthplaces, and their birth dates, and their social security numbers. So basically, their entire identities were up for grabs to these hackers. The next question is there a solution to this problem? Man, I think the solution is to just put security as a top priority, which it obviously wasn't. When there are signs that your system is outdated or is at risk, addressing that needs to be the first thing that happens. If it's not to protect the system itself, it's to protect all the people that you are responsible for protecting and that are paying money to have this system operate under the impression that they're going to be safe by the American government. That's the obvious solution to me, is to just do it. Discussion question 1. What should the government do moving forward? I think it's pretty clear that revisions need to be made into this. A group of people ignored their responsibilities and ignored signs that something was wrong with their system. And if we're going to move forward with this, I think new regulations into this department need to be put in place in order to keep the department's integrity. They need more organizational monitoring and structuring, and a clear, obvious answer is more routine security checks. That's a must that they have to be doing that they clearly weren't, or they were just ignoring. So my next question is, if revisions need to be made in this government organization, does that automatically entail that more funding should be given to them to ensure higher security? And unfortunately, this doesn't look to be as an issue of lack of funding. It appeared to be an ignorance towards what was supposed to be happening and just a lack of responsibility towards their actions. Funding definitely needs to happen now in order to keep security high enough to move forward from what has already been breached, but I don't think funding may have ever been necessary beforehand. We may, if we were practicing our security protocols correctly, which we weren't, we may have been able to entirely avoid more funding, but now we don't really have a choice. So in conclusion, The fact that this would even happen in our day and in our country, I think is shameful. And I think it's apparent that um, something that is this devastating to the privacy of our nation's people should be something that is taken extremely seriously moving forward, and that wasn't taken nearly seriously enough. And now we suffered because of the laziness of our government's organizations, and I think that's really sad. So that's the end of this case study, but this wasn't a great one for me. It made me very sad.